Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unlocked, where we talk about unlocking the potential of you, the people you work with, and the people you do life with. At the time of this recording, I'm offering all of you, yes, my lovely listeners, a free 15-minute communication coaching call. You come with some kind of communication problem, and I give you a solution. My calendar link is in the show notes, so check that out. Purpose is a pretty big deal. Purpose is thrown around a lot, the word. And we sit there and go in companies, will purpose really drive anything? Like dollars wise? Can we just get on with making the thing and having a thing so that we can run the thing and do the thing? Why does purpose get talked about? And can I really do anything with it? Because it's kind of this abstract thing. Well, Bobby Jones is who we're going to talk to today. His whole platform is built around purpose, and he's drove some meaningful impact and profit through the idea of purpose with some major companies. Bobby Jones, he's the co-founder and co-author of Good is the New Cool, Guide the Personal Purpose. Good is the New Cool. The first book was written back in 2016, and he has a new book that is out now. He has a company called Conspiracy of Love that we're going to talk about a little bit here. He's a visionary entrepreneur and a storyteller whose work has empowered leaders in over 150 countries to drive meaningful innovation and growth. His keynotes, his workshops, they inspire audiences with actionable strategies to discover fulfillment in their work, sparking transformation in their lives, their organizations, and the world. As co-founder of Conspiracy of Love, Bobby drives purposeful growth for leading companies like Adidas, Unilever, PepsiCo. He's also co-founded Good is the New Cool, a creative studio dedicated to closing the hope gap through stories of inspiration, innovation, and impact. His latest venture, RIVET, funds youth-led social innovation, investing $250 million over the next decade. We are going to get deep into purpose. We're going to talk about Bobby's purpose at the end, but we're going to talk about why purpose is important and how you can find out a little bit about yours. So here we go. Hey, Bobby. How's it going, man?
I'm good, Scott. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
It's exciting time for you. You got a new book coming out. You got some other stuff going on. So if people are listening to this after, the end of October 2024, which this episode will be on forever. So, go out and get the book if you haven't heard about it already. So we're going to talk about that on the show. But first of all, you're a big purpose guy.
Yeah.
Tell me why. Tell me where that even came from. Tell me why you landed in this space. It's not like, I don't know if you came out of college and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this purpose thing. Like how did all that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And no, I did not come out of college saying I was going to be focused on this space. Far from it. I had actually, when I came out of school, I had a variety of entrepreneurial ventures, all focused in marketing that led me to doing a deal that landed me in a large agency when I was probably about 27 years old. We sold our marketing company. And that put me in this world where I was working with some of the largest and coolest brands out in the space. And my work is in large part in helping those brands to understand what was happening in youth culture. And it was really cool work. It was interesting. It was fun. By all the traditional metrics, I was successful at it. But yet, I couldn't shake this feeling that there has to be more than just getting people to buy more stuff. And at the time, I was just becoming a dad, and I remember, you know, seeing my son for the first time and really starting to think about the world that I wanted him to grow up in and what I was doing to create that world. And it was something that came alive in me, in the sense that I needed to find something that was going to feel more meaningful, and that there was going to be a real sense of purpose. I didn't really know what purpose was, but I knew that it would answer the question of why am I doing this work, and what work am I here to do, and how do I get about doing that work. And so I went on the journey to find purpose, in my own life and in my own work, and through that journey of discovering my own purpose, which is, the way I articulate is to feed the good in myself, the communities I belong to, in the world that I share with others. And it was through that process of really uncovering and discovering what my purpose was that I then began to see how I could bring that to everything that I did, and how everything that I wanted to do in the world, I wanted to be connected to that idea of feeding the good. And one of the first things that I did, coming out of that, was partner with a good friend who was my client at the time, Aziz, who was also at a point where he was looking to figure out how to use marketing in ways that felt more purposeful, and how you can make marketing a force for impact. And we decided to write this book called Good is the New Cool, Market Like You Give a Damn. This was in 2016, and that book came out, and it really caught fire in the US and around the world. And it really opened doors for us to feed the good in the world by awakening purpose in people and organizations. And we started to take the things that we were learning about how to discover, how to identify what your superpowers are, what the world needs, and how to identify a place where you can serve the world in unique and powerful ways. And we begin to teach that to organizations and individuals around the world. And then that opportunity to go and speak opened up doors to not only continue to speak, but to go inside of companies and actually help them to apply these principles in their organizations. And we begin to do that work through a consultancy called Conspiracy of Love. And so over the past 8 years, since the book has come out, we've been on this amazing journey. And I've had the opportunity to literally be able to feed the good, not only myself, but in businesses and communities and people around the world. And it has been an incredible ride. And I'm really passionate about the power of purpose to help us find a real sense of meaning in our work. But also because I know that once you, as we say, are in alignment with your assignment, when you're doing the work that only you can do in this world, and even as a business and organization, you're doing the things that only you can do as an organization in ways that allow your superpowers and what the world needs. How transformative it is in your ability to grow, not only as a person, but as an organization, and to grow the people and cultures and things around you. And so, I've been an evangelist for this work, and had the opportunity to really to see the power of it, and to be able to share that power is something I'm extremely excited about being able to do.
So who cares? Like, why should I care, Bobby? Like, if I'm a company, if I am out there right now, why should I care about the work you're doing?
Well, there's three things, and these are things that are universal to all businesses. One, the first reason you need to care is because your customers and your consumers care. So if you're a business, we know that even from a B2B standpoint, that companies buy largely based not just on the functional needs, but also the impact that those products and services have in creating the type of world that business, that your buyer envisions. And so when you talk about your vision for the world, you talk about the purpose of why your organization exists, you talk about your products and services in the context of that, you're much more likely to be successful in terms of generating and attracting new customers, new consumers, and growing your revenue. And from a B2C model, we also know that consumers and citizens care. They want to buy from products and brands that align with their values. We know by almost all the metrics that we've been able to see, consumers are more than 4 to 6 times more likely to purchase, protect, champion, um, and begin to evangelize for the companies that they trust to do things that align with their values. We also know that employees want to work at companies that stand for something. We know that employees are much more likely to be engaged in companies that have a purpose. They're much more likely to be productive. We know that they're much more likely to be successful in companies in which they are working on things that matter to them, in which they can apply and bring their best selves to what matters most to that organization, but knowing what matters most to the organization actually matters out into the world. And then the last piece is we know that from an investor and capital standpoint, that companies that are purpose driven and are able to actually solve problems that the marketplace cares about actually have more engaged in high performing companies in terms of their employees. They also lead in innovation, and they also are likely to attract more capital. And so, if you're a business and you care about growing your revenue, if you care about engaging your employees, and if you care about attracting capital, then you need to care about the role that purpose can play in all of those things. And we know from all the data that purpose can boost all of those metrics in really sound, sustainable, and important ways.
Do you talk about how to find that, or even just kind of uncover if I'm even living? Like, maybe I think that I'm in my purpose groove, but maybe I'm not in what I'm doing and if I should be. I mean, how do I figure that out?
Yeah. So when we talk about finding your purpose, and again, for some people, purpose can be in this particular moment, and sometimes purpose can be something that you find in terms of your life's purpose. We don't really oftentimes know, but what we do know is that purpose is something that can set the direction for where we want to go. And when we talk about how do you find it, one of the pioneers in this space, True Pettigrew, he has developed a model that we've applied in our work in our lives and that we've helped other people to adopt, which is called GPS to purpose. And it's really about identifying three core things. One, what are your gifts? What are your unique superpowers? What are the things that you do better than anyone else that other people see and admire and appreciate and that you are already using to contribute value? So the first question is, what are your gifts? And being able to identify what those gifts are. The second is, what are your passions? What are the things that bring you alive? Our passions are often a great indicator of what we value, but it's also a great indicator of the things that we're drawn to be able to spend more and more of our time and energy towards. So, what are the things that you're passionate about? Not just the hobbies, but what are the things that break your heart? What are the things that really get you upset? What are the things that when you see in place really bring a sense of joy and optimism to you? And those things could be such as passionate about education, passionate about creating equitable opportunities, passions about creating space for people who don't often have space to be their best selves. So all of these things could be things that we're passionate about that helps us to give an indication of where we should probably draw more and more in terms of ourselves to that energy and to those things that can bring us alive. And the second is, how can you be of service? What are the ways that you can use your unique gifts and your passions to be of service to the communities and the people that you want to help impact? And through answering those three questions, we've seen that people are able to identify pathways where they can understand what they are uniquely equipped to do, what brings them alive, and how they can serve. Because ultimately, purpose is about how to be of service. And so we use GPS as a framework, and we actually teach that in our new book, The Good is the New Cool Guide to Personal Purpose, as a step by step process for how anyone can find that sense of purpose in that North Star. And we talk about purpose in terms of a journey and a direction. And that once you begin to align with those things, you're able to get in flow and be able to find a direction that's bringing you alive, that's making you feel fulfilled, and connecting you to a sense of service that's not only making a positive impact in your life, but in the lives of others.
I love that. And I often talk at the around the idea. I mean, I don't hit on purpose a lot, but it's also this idea when I'm talking with clients is that purpose is usually outward. It's going to be the impact that you have on something or someone out there. And that comes through that act of service and through understanding. First of all, you got to understand those gifts and those passions. I really like that idea, understanding that first. And then how do you apply these to serve others? Because that impact is where you're going to go, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, is because of that. And that
Yes.
feedback loop of, and that's what's probably going to keep you going, right? Is that feedback loop of, oh, that felt good. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, we know, and I mean, we've seen some great studies that talk about the impact on purpose just in terms of our lives. We have much higher levels of resilience, much higher levels of happiness, much higher levels of fulfillment. We see impact in terms of overall health, mental health, physical health. We see it in terms of our career success. Once you begin to tap into that, is a whole set of benefits that we begin to experience in our lives. And the other thing is that you begin to see the impact that your life is having on other people. And that's a tremendous thing. We're all hardwired in some way to want to see and know that the lives that we're living is making a positive impact in the world around us. We all want that in some way. Oftentimes, we just don't know how to find it and don't necessarily know how to experience it. But once you tap into that and you know that for sure, it changes your life in a really powerful way and your career as well.
So tell us about your new book, Good is the New Cool, Guide for Personal Purpose. So the first book, I'm assuming from the second book's title, the first book was around more organizational, corporate structure and purpose and drive and things like that. Now you're kind of focusing on the personal side of things. Is that right?
Yes, our journey and my journey in particular started because I was in a place where I was looking for a greater sense of purpose in my work in my life. And so this is really sort of a full circle um, time for us because now we're coming back to provide everything that I've learned and that Afdal and I have learned in our journeys and bringing that to everyone else who is at some point on that journey today. And so we wrote this book really because people are really hungry to find this. One of the, most eye-opening stats that we saw is, Gallup does a study every year in which they talk about the overall health of employee relationships with their companies. And one of the measures that they have is employee engagement, means that the extent to which employees are actively participating in working ways to add value to their companies in ways that they feel personally connected and motivated to do so. And when we looked at that study, we saw that only 23% of employees around the world said that they were engaged in their work. If you think about the global workforce and the billions of people that show up to work every day, to think that almost 80% of them are not engaged in the work that they're doing, meaning they don't feel a real sense of personal connection. They're not actively involved in creating value, and they're not feeling a real sense of fulfillment and meaning in the work that they're doing. That is a huge opportunity cost on multiple levels. It's a massive opportunity cost on a macroeconomic level because you think the amount of ways that employees are could perform at a higher level if they actually were engaged. And you think about the economic impact. If you think about the companies and the types of impact that would happen if employees actually did begin to show up in ways that brought them alive and the transformative effect that that could have. But also, you just think about the fact that many of us spend 40, 50, and sometimes more years at work. And the fact that we're not doing work that is necessarily bringing us a deep sense of engagement, we wanted to do something that could help change that. And from our personal experience, we know that when you're finding work and you're able to connect your work to a greater sense of purpose on a personal level, all of those things begin to change. Engagement levels are higher, productivity levels are higher, impact levels, all of these things begin to change. And so we think that this book can help really have a transformative impact on the lives of the individuals and the readers. But we also hope that as these readers begin to apply that to the work that they're doing and begin to share their experience with others, we hope that we can create a groundswell shift in the way that we all show up at work, and also the ways that we show up in life in ways that can not only boost productivity for our companies, but also improve and boost levels of happiness and joy and wellness fulfillment in our own lives. So that's our goal with the book, is to really make an impact on a personal level, organizational level, and then hopefully on a global level.
What do you say to those individuals who are, let's see, I don't know how to phrase it, right? Very transactional in their job function. Maybe,
Mhm.
factory line workers, people that are out there, utilities workers, some people out there that are just, laying pavement, construction. There's other jobs, not just out there like hands on, but like in our corporate world where we're very transactional in some of the things that we do. Um, and at some point they're just kind of like, hey, I just need a paycheck. Like I really am just looking for a paycheck. I just really need, I've got some doctor's bills. I need this done. I'm working here, I'm doing that. But it's just, what do you say to them about this whole purpose thing? They're like, purpose? That's no, I'm not even there right now. I'm just kind of here grinding it out. What do you say to those individuals?
Well, the first thing I say is that those things are mutually exclusive. When we started this work, one of the things that we looked at was, to your point, really sort of going back to some of the core tenets of the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's work and others who have also studied this work. And it goes up that ladder that you spoke about. It, excuse me. It starts with, I need a paycheck. I need to put food on the table. I need to put a roof over my head. And for some people, they stay at that fundamental level where work is really just about addressing those fundamental needs. But typically, as you begin to fulfill those needs, you begin to understand that there's other needs that you have beyond that. You also have a need to find a sense of connection and belonging in the work that you're doing with other people, and to know that the work that you're doing is in community with other people, and other people are chipping in, and you're adding value, and together you're building something. And then you want to know that you're good at that work. You want to have a sense of self actualization, that okay, I'm recognized for being good, whether I'm a street sweeper, or whether I'm working in construction, or whether I'm driving a bus, or whatever it is. You want to feel like I'm really good at that work. But then after you feel that you're really good at that work, you want to know that the work that you're doing is not just at a self-actualization level, but is also tapping into what we found is at the highest level, which is self-transcendence. So yes, you may be a bus driver and you may be driving that bus to pay the bills, but you're also part of a group of people that are also driving buses that are helping people, millions of people around the city, or thousands in the small town, to move around. And you're really good at that work. And because you're really good at that work, you're helping people to get to their jobs and to get back to their families and to do other things that matter. Whether if you're a janitor, the space that you're creating that's helping people to come to work in rooms and in spaces that are clean and that are already organized, is allowing them to get started on their day in ways that they could be productive in doing work that is making an impact out in the world. So all of our work is interconnected. All of it should feel like it matters. And the fact that you're doing it for a paycheck doesn't mean that you can't also find a greater sense of purpose and meaning and fulfillment in it. And as a matter of fact, the connection between income and purpose and fulfillment is not necessarily based on each other. There are people who are doing work as teachers who are not millionaires by any means. We have a great sense of purpose and meaning in their work. And there's people who are making a lot of money, who I talk to all the time, who are struggling to find it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're making money at a certain level, that you can't have purpose and meaning in your work. Those two things can and should be connected. And what we wrote is really an offering to help anyone to draw those connections in their life and work, regardless of their salary, their income level, position, or title, and to know that those two things can be connected in really powerful ways.
Well said. Well said. I think that when we, as companies, when we when we create disconnect and distance between those people that are doing the work and the impact that is created because of that, we're doing them a disservice. um,
Absolutely.
I think that when we have some of those individuals, the frontline workers, some of those in the grind, in the factories, some behind the scenes, whatever, and they don't get to see the thing, hear the stories, experience the people that are having the impact, that's when you lose the engagement. I think that that's a huge, huge problem there. And if we could bring more of those stories, more of those, that impact into the organizations, help people realize what they're doing and why they're doing it, we would have such a bigger impact. I think that these people would just feel so much more engaged in their work.
Absolutely. One of the, to that point, one of the questions we often ask when we do our GPS to Purpose workshops is we ask everyone in the room to share the day you felt most proud about your work. And it's amazing what you hear. I mean, I've been in rooms where it was clear that the people in that room were no longer engaged. They, for whatever reason, had sort of lost the spark or the connection to the work. But then they go back to that time, that day when they felt really proud. And almost every time it is a moment when they saw, to your point, how the work that they were doing actually made an impact in ways that matter. And when they saw that, it changed something about their relationship to the work. It made them feel differently about the work that they did. And once people begin to reconnect to that, it changes everything. And so once you begin to really see those things that remind you that this work matters, it's critical. And often, again, to the point that you made earlier, organizations need to tell those stories to everyone inside of their companies who may not necessarily always see the benefit of the end product, but know that the work that they're doing is contributing to that end product that's making a positive impact in those lives. And that impact would not have been made if it wasn't for the work that that individual did, regardless of what level that individual is at the time.
Tell us about the if we can go to the Adidas. You worked with Adidas and creating some meaningful impact work in there and talking about purpose. And I mean, Adidas could just be cool with just, hey, we're just gonna, make apparel, we're gonna sponsor companies, we're gonna do whatever we do transactionally. But they chose to engage you and to work on a bigger initiative to try to bring in those with disabilities, women, other people of color into sports world. Why did they decide to do that, and what was the impact that that's had?
Yeah, so I think there's two pieces of it. So Adidas' purpose is rooted in their core belief, which is through sport, we have the power to change lives. And so Adidas has been doing an incredible amount of work. And if you know uh, their story with Parley for the Oceans and that partnership and the amount of plastic that they've been able to remove from oceans and work that they've done to create a variety of different access and pathways to playing in different areas. They have already been doing a lot of really cool and interesting and impactful work. But the question that we asked is, if you fundamentally believe that through sport you have the power to change lives, which lives are you changing? And how are you changing them in ways that matter? And so once you begin to look at which lives are you changing, then we tap into what we begin to talk about in terms of inclusive growth, is what are the communities that you're currently not engaging and that you're currently not focused on? that if you focused on could not only make a positive impact in their lives, but could actually bring them into sport, which introduces them to all of the world of opportunities that sports can create in terms of building self-esteem, physical fitness, sense of community, sense of achievement, all the different benefits that we know the sports has, but then also brings them into the world of your business in ways that as they're engaging with sport, they're also engaging with your products and services at the same time. And so the exploration and the journey that we went through was really who are these communities that we can bring in and how do we introduce them to sport and how do we introduce them to the offerings that you have? And so we begin to look at all of the different communities, whether it's disabled communities or communities that haven't been necessarily engaged traditionally because of economic levels or a variety of different things. We begin to identify who those communities were. Then we also begin to identify, okay, what are the programs that you have, such as the community platforms that already exist? How do you bring more of those people into those existing ones? But then also, what are the things that other communities need that you may not have created that we can begin to build? And some of that may exist in terms of the stories that we tell and helping people to see themselves and the visuals and the stories that are being told. Some of them are introduced in terms of creating equitable pathways into sport, such as creating community spaces and green fields, spaces for people to be able to access sport in ways they haven't been before. And then also, how do you begin to introduce them not only to the sport and the benefits of sport, but also begin to show all the different offerings that you have, not only from the products that they sell, but also the different services they provide in terms of nutrition and educating people on ways that they can exercise, their run crews, their exercise communities, all these different things that people could tap into. And so when we begin to do that work, what they begin to see was that there were a wide range of opportunities that they can begin to create. And they actually could begin to create opportunities that not only brought millions, but potentially a billion new people into sport. And so we begin to think about that as a new pathway and a new aspiration. How do we bring a billion new people into sport over the next decade or so? And so it was through that we begin to work with them to identify programs and platforms. You begin to see shifts in their creative. You begin to see shifts in the storytelling. And now, Adi is beginning to implement those things in really cool and effective ways and in growing in ways that are inclusive, but at the core in line with their purpose. Because now all of these things is delivering on that core belief that through sport, they have the power to change lives. And through sport, they're changing more lives and then changing them in more ways that are more impactful than they've ever been able to do before. And so bringing that work together has really been something we've been, extremely proud of and look forward to seeing how Adi continues that in the future.
That's beautiful. It's awesome because, you look at it too, it's like Adidas wants to make money. I mean, they have to make money. And
Yes.
This is an initiative where you're making money, but you're fulfilling your purpose as well. And then as a result, money is just the result, right? Money is just the byproduct of the thing that you're initially doing. And by also fulfilling your purpose and working through your purpose, you're also hiring people and keeping people that believe that they want to do that same thing. And believe that's kind of where your new book is going, is like, hey, we've got this idea of good is a new cool for the corporation level and for the company level and what we're doing workshop wise, but how do we do that also for the personal level and bring it down to that personal idea? And once we capture that, then we can combine that with the corporate level, and then we'll be stronger together. What are 3 questions that we could ask ourselves to help kind of unlock this idea of purpose within ourselves?
Yes. And I think, for everyone that is listening, these are the questions, I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but these are the core questions that have been transformative in my life and in the lives of a lot of people that have gone on this journey. I would really encourage you to think about what are your gifts and not just answer them for yourself, but ask people around you. Think about the 5 people who know you best, your friends, your family, your coworkers, the people that you have the most interaction with, and ask them what they think your gifts are. Ask them what do they think your superpowers are. And I think you'd be surprised often what you hear. Sometimes what we think our superpowers are and what others think they are not necessarily the same. And so that first question to ask is, what are your gifts? And ask that question to yourself and ask it to the five people that are closest to you. The second question you ask is, what am I really most passionate about? And really think about it. And sometimes we have a hard time thinking about like what our passions are. But what I would encourage is to pay attention to what energizes you. When you go through the day or you're, reading, you know, things in the news or hearing things, what are the things that awakens something in you? It could be something that angers you because of what it is. You may see someone that is not getting a fair shake, and it's something about that bothers you. And what you may realize through that is that you're really passionate about people getting fair and equitable opportunities to achieve or to be their best life, to live their best life. And so paying attention to the things that you're passionate about, not necessarily your hobbies, but the things that really energize you, is a really important question to ask yourself so that you can begin to understand where your energy is most awakened and where it's at its highest levels. And then the third is, how can you be of service? How can you serve? When you look at what are the things around you, what are the opportunities and the needs that you see? What are the needs in your home? What are the needs in your community? What are the needs in your company? What are the needs in broader society? And once you begin to understand the answers to those three questions, then you can begin to think about how you can apply your gifts and passions and what you do best to be of service in ways that the people around you, the communities and the companies that you work for need most. And that is ultimately the intersection that we want to help people to find in their work. How do you apply your best self to what matters most to your organization in terms of helping to solve the problems that needs to be solved?
Bobby, can I put you on the spot for a second?
Yeah.
All right. You've developed this GPS framework. What are your gifts? What are your passions? And how are you of service?
Yeah. So just to qualify, the GPS was something that I learned from True Pettigrew, and this is
Mm.
something that I've taken along with Aftel and be able to share with others. My gifts, I have a gift for storytelling, and the ability to speak and to share stories to help people to see and experience the world around them in different ways. I have the ability to help create space for people to feel seen and heard and to be their most authentic self. I have a gift of the ability to have what we call a moral imagination, which is to be able to see the world for what it could be and to be able to innovate and create things that can help uh, achieve that vision for the world. And also have the ability to be able to help people to regain perspective and clarity in any given moment. And so I apply those gifts to what I'm really passionate about, which is helping people to be who they came here to be and to expand the possibilities for their lives and for the things that they can create. And so at my core, I'm really passionate about expanding opportunities and expanding the possibilities for our lives and for our organizations and for awakening that thing in us that says, this is who I'm supposed to be in this world, and helping them to be that. And the ways that I could be of service is at a time when so many people are living and operating in an inauthentic way, and that they're not feeling the real sense of connection, and they're not feeling really seen and heard, and they're not necessarily tapping into possibilities for what their lives and work in the world can be, and just settling for what is. I apply my gifts and my passions to be of service in the world by seeing the good in people and what they can be and what's possible for their lives, and feeding that good by helping them to tap into that and giving them the tools to be their best versions of themselves and to create the best version of the world that they want to be a part of. And so that is how I use my gifts and my passions to be of service in the world in ways that are in line with a clear purpose for my life and my work.
Where do we get the book? Tell me where we get the book.
So you can get the book wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, your local bookstores, anywhere where books are sold, you should be able to find. Again, as good as the new cool guide to personal purpose. Look it up. You can also go to goodasthenewcool.com and you can find the book there, as well as conspiracyoflove.com. You can see the book there as well. So yeah, definitely check it out and let us know what you think. We'd love to hear the feedback from anyone who's read the book. And pre-orders are open now, so go to wherever you buy your books and get it today.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing your gifts, your passions, and the way you serve with us. That's amazing. I hear it in your messages on your website. I hear it in the messages and the stories you tell. So I feel that, man. That's awesome. Really proud to know you and keep this message alive and out there because it's so important. It's so important. With the people that I'm coaching every day, it's, you can tell the people that feel a loss of purpose, and it hurts my heart a little bit, so. Yeah. Thanks for sharing it. I'm gonna get it out there, and good luck with the book and all you're doing.
Thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. Keep up the great work, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our episode today.
Would you like to increase engagement in your organization? Maybe you want to feel a bit more engaged. Well, when we look at that stat of 23% of individuals are actually engaged at work, this is a big problem because that lack of engagement means a lack of productivity, a lack of retention. And all those things mean what? We're going to spend more money. It's going to be more costly to run our businesses. If we have more engaged people, we will increase productivity and the performance of our organizations, therefore making us more profitable. So let's think about this just a little bit. Purpose. How do we feed the good? Feed the good through what we are doing at our organization. I love his 3 questions, and I really hope you'll take note of them because this is how we develop what I call our leadership brand, our personal brand. How do we take the things that we're good at, the things that we have been put on this planet to do and to be, and impact other people with them to where other people are talking about us. They're saying, hey, Scott's the kind of guy that does this kind of work or does this type of thing. And I'm really appreciative of Bobby for the things that he did for me and the person he is. We all have this. And all of that is driven through our purpose. I told Bobby after the call that my purpose is pinned on my wall over here. And it says that my purpose is to help people feel they have permission to be who they were designed to be. And I do that through this gift I have of making sense of complex communication issues and challenges and things. I did this as a designer in my earlier days, as a graphic designer, taking complex communication issues and boiling them down to a simple design execution. I do that now in coaching, where I'm working with companies and organizations that really take all this mess and make sense of it. We all have a purpose. You have one. And use those 3 questions. What are the gifts you have? What are you passionate about? Or like Bobby said, I really like that idea. What's the injustice you see in the world that makes you angry? It kind of gets you that passion. And then how can you be of service? I promise you, if you serve, you will not only impact the people you're serving, you'll have an impact on you and your life. If you want to find out more information about me or check out the show notes where there's going to be more information and links to the things referenced in this episode, visit ScottWaldron.com. And lastly, I'm asking for a little bit of love, just a little bit. So please take a moment, follow, rate the show. The algorithms like that. It helps me get the word out. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And until next time, stay unlocked.